Welcome to the Thrive series. Today I have Dusty, who is the Beautiful Outlaw, authenticity after trauma coach. All of that amazing. Let's go right into it, Dusty. What Tell us more about the name Beautiful Outlaw, and what does this mean, calling yourself authenticity after trauma coach?
Oh my goodness, Amy. Thank you first and foremost for letting me be a part of this Thrive series. What an amazing thing you're giving back to other people, and thriving just is you. Like, this is
Uh,
just perfect for you.
well, and this is why you're here too, because you are a model of this.
Oh, I appreciate that. So, the Beautiful Outlaw actually was very intimidating to me for a while. Um, so in 2013 is actually when I was walking through the desert. I cannot make this up. Walking through the desert, I was stealing Wi-Fi from a neighbor. I was in a very abusive situation, and I needed one of my friends to come and get me just so I could get out of the house, even though he wasn't there that day, to do some different things, go shopping and different things like that. And I would literally had to go steal Wi-Fi from the neighbor that I did not know. And I was walking back through the desert, and I remember like tears are pouring down my face. I'm just lost. I feel so like just yuck, right? And I remember looking up at the sky, and it was like almost a videotape, like a video was playing.
Mm.
And it was like this beautiful download of that I was going to help women become their authentic self. And at that time, I didn't understand like the whole trauma ordeal or like really understand that. But I did know that no matter what they'd been through, no matter how hard it'd been, I was going to help inspire women to embrace who they were really meant to be. And that I was never going to be in competition with women. And that which was so freeing because at this time I didn't have a lot of women friends, so I didn't understand it, but I was like, okay, this is really fun. And I just remember like clear as day knowing and feeling that I was going to go through some struggles until I was 30. I was 23 at this time, and I'm like, what is going on, right? Like, this was all very new to me. I didn't understand downloads there. I did not have a relationship with God then. um I was going to bed every day thanking God I was alive, waking up in the morning praying to God I made it through the next day. It was one of those situations, and just feeling lost. And so, like, I already had the name Beautiful Outlaws, and I wanted to do something rodeo oriented, and then I was like, that is doesn't fit. Like, there's not something there. And so in the mix of this, I had this like clear, like I said, clear as day download that I was going to have a tribe of women around me, that we were going to inspire other women to become beautiful outlaws. And what that is a woman who breaks the rules of society and is her own. Like, so you're not harming other people, but you're not staying in this cookie cutter. And through the mix of all this, I was like labeled what, like, took the name Beautiful Outlaw, and I was like, oh, that is intimidating. Like, and I started putting it on all my stuff, and I'm like, this is so intimidating. And I didn't know how to really like harness it for years.
Yeah.
And I went through more trauma and all of that. And I sunk way low. I went through, depressions. I went through, like, I moved clear across the country, sold my horses on Christmas Eve of 2013, moved clear across the country with an aunt I barely knew. Turned out I wasn't even living with the aunt I planned on living with. I was living with her daughter and her granddaughter in her house. And I, like, just a lot of things that were planned weren't as they were. And bounced around Kansas for a minute, ended up in Oklahoma, bounced around Oklahoma, two different places, and then found myself in a relationship. And there was just a lot of like super highs, super lows. Everything started out great, and then not so great. More abuse happened. More, I was ashamed to leave. Like, I was so scared to leave him because I was like, well, if I leave and go home, like, I fail. Like, I failed. And I, took that all in. So the trauma just kept piling, and I didn't understand. I didn't know how to reach out for help. I believe that I deserved the abuse from both relationships because I was not worthy. And because I'd heard society norms and society stigmas that people put on people. If you go through abuse, it's your fault. You should just leave.
Mm.
Like, if you get it, if you're abused, it's your fault. You did something wrong, or you should just leave. Well, because I didn't understand everything and everything was so mucky, and I'm still young, right? Like mid, early 20, and going into my later 20s. And so through all that, I just like lost my spark, right? Lost my spark. And God bless me because like I said, I was in depression. I was scared. And like, so, but the whole time, like I'm going through this, and even when I was getting high, I was like, I, this beautiful outlaw thing, like it kept me going. And I was like, you're the beautiful outlaw. You've got to pull, like something's going to break. You just got to make it till 30. You just have to make it till 30. Don't give up. Just keep going. And I remember like I was ready to end all of it. Like I was going to take myself out. My horses did not even know. And your horses know everything. And I wouldn't even share like that. I wouldn't even think that thought around my horse because like, nope, don't want him to stop me. So like just a mix of things. 28 years roll, I'm 28 years old. Probably one of the worst days of my life, my 28th birthday. Like it was devastating. I was making plans with God and I was like, you either give me a person or I'm taking myself out. That's it for the holidays, right? And like at the same time of being in this like deep, like, I mean, I'm broken at this point, right? I'm so alone, I'm so broken. And I just remember Beautiful Outlaws, like it was literally like I'm arguing with God and this is still popping up. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, just let me quit. I just want to quit. So fast forward 10 days and I pop a baby out in the shower. I didn't know I was pregnant with after training horses all day. And 4 days before I was going to end it all, the Monday before Thanksgiving. And so in the mix of all this, of like complete shock, holding a baby in the shower, having like his dad come and then having someone call the ambulance come, like I remember still like that just pop up of this is part of the Beautiful Outlaw journey. And I'm like, what is going on? What is this madness? Like I didn't understand it, right? Fast forward a year later and I we took precautions and still I ended up pregnant, but I believe that was part of the journey because I didn't get out, right? Like I stayed in the toxic relationship. And so my youngest son came and he was born 3 months early, breech. I went through all that alone. And he passed away one day before his due date. And as I was going through all the hospital stuff with him, and as I was like alone and scared and making life and death calls by myself and arguing with their dad and, having to go back and forth between my two kids, I still remember there was days where I was bawling my eyes out, scared to death, like just over there in the little corner because I had a little it was like a love seat that folded out into a bed that I could stay in the PICU with my son. And I just remember like literally hearing this is part of the Beautiful Outlaw journey. And I'm like, I'm not even strong enough for this.
Yeah.
But I went through each thing and I was like, what is going on? So 2019 in February, I lose my son. I go into therapy. By January of 2020, I've decided I'm getting a life coach too. And I just started this transformation and stuff just started to fall into place. And I didn't know where I belonged and I didn't know where I fit. But then I was like, you know what? Authenticity after trauma.
Yeah.
Because you go through that stuff and you just want to quit on you. You want to give up on you, right? Like, and then you lose a child. Who are you to celebrate your life and have a good life? Those are the words you hear in your head. The truth is, you're still deserving. You're still
Absolutely.
so worthy of it. And that's where the Beautiful Outlaw and authenticity after trauma, like they blend together. They're one and the same.
Yeah.
And it's all about embracing who you were meant to be after trauma. It just made you stronger, it made you wiser, and it actually gave you purpose. It gave you purpose because you might have had to get knocked down more than once.
Yeah.
But now you have a way to serve. You have a way to connect with people and you have a way to be real.
Yeah.
And you've learned through all that other stuff that being real is a whole lot easier than being fake.
Mm-hmm.
And you can move through things with more grace when you're really who you're meant to be, even when it gets dark, even when it gets heavy. And that's when it kind of just all comes together. And so I finally have decided to embody the Beautiful Outlaw. And my goal is to inspire other women to do the same.
Yeah.
And take that Beautiful Outlaw journey by becoming your authentic self after trauma.
So I feel like you brought it all together as you're describing right there in that worthiness and like and correct me if I'm seeing this differently than how you feel about it, but that has so much to do with how you now view thriving.
Oh, 100%. I think, when we were just talking about it a little bit ago, and then even before, and I look back in life, and thriving before meant nice house, nice car, nice whatever, you know what I mean? Like social status, whatever. Now thriving is being in line with who you're meant to be, just embodying who you are. And not, I don't care if you're a stay-at-home mom or if you want to climb the corporate ladder or you want to start your own business of whatever that is for you. Or my favorite example I give people all the time is maybe you were an emo kid, like back in the day when I was in school and they had the emos, and you
Mhm.
have a cure for cancer because there's been so many labels where if you're this, you can't be this, right?
Right.
So thriving is being who you were meant to be, the way you're meant to be, and just embracing life to the fullest. That's what thriving is to me now.
Yes. Yes. And when you were talking about that kind of like duality, you think you are this, and so that means you can't do this. It's this whole idea, like I'm really this is what I'm leaning into about thriving too, is like we can be both, right? You can be that your authentic self in safe you can be safely your authentic self even even while you have also experienced this.
Oh, 100%.
And that adds all of that depth and that compassion. And as you're describing this, I feel your passion. And that's how I see this too. And you kept getting that, like, I almost see this in my head like a neon flashing light, that beautiful outlaw just kept coming to you. It was like, and in these moments where you're like, what is this? you know and now I see it like this neon sign, um that those two words mean so much. Beautiful outlaw. And I feel like, um you know, how have women responded to that? Because for me, I'm like, that has a great sound to it. Beautiful outlaw. That sounds amazing.
The feedback I get always, they're like, that is so empowering.
Mhm,
And, I'm just really starting to get it out there. Like men, women, everybody, they're like, wow. And they're like, they embrace it right away. They're like,
mhm,
you are that. And I'm like, I don't want to. And I really did struggle with a long time of that's intimidating.
mhm.
That's so intimidating. But now that the more that I've embodied it and the more that I'm like, I make connections with people and the more that I share it, I'm like, it's not intimidating.
Yeah.
Like, and it is a little scary if you hear it and you're not ready to receive it. But the truth is the only reason it's intimidating. And if you feel like it is, and the way I felt it was being my authentic self was scary.
Mhm.
Being who I'm meant to be is scary because you know what? I'm not a cookie cutter.
Yeah.
I was never meant to be a cookie cutter.
No.
And none of us are meant to be cookie cutters. But so often we get programmed to be a cookie cutter. So when we think about, oh man, I really, really want to be this. This is who I am. This is how I walk. This is how I talk. This is how I dress. Like I used to believe like, girl, you're crazy. Because I want my closet to be able to walk in there and there'll be like an arraignment of anything. Like a clothing rainbow per se, you know what I mean, of different styles. And I had embodied for so long of just being this cowgirl, of just being this horse girl. And so that was intimidating to believe this is who I really was. So it's a little things like that. I mean, that sounds silly, right? But in my head,
Right.
I was like, girl, don't you dare. Don't you dare. I didn't wear shorts for years, guys. Like, did not wear, nope. I wore jeans 24/7. I wore boots all the time. Like, you weren't seeing me. I think last year, you barely seen me in boots and jeans. Like, and it wasn't like, I mean, I still rode horses all the time, but it was a work for me to embrace. And that sounds, like I said, like a silly little thing, but we have to rewire our brains, right?
Yep.
Like we have to, and when we're scared of something and something seems intimidating to us, probably we need to lean into that a little bit more, right? Like we need
Yeah.
to, what is really going on? And so the only time I've ever gotten like resistance to it is more when you can tell that somebody is a little bit more reserved about themselves. And I am grateful because of the path that I've walked and the like everything I've been through. And as much as I love people, that I get to have that communication and that conversation that opens that up. And so there's not, you don't notice the resistance unless you're, I guess, me, who's, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a gift. It really is a gift. And I'm excited to actually bring it out to the world and inspire more women just to be who they
Yes.
were created to be.
Absolutely. So, of course, there's more below this video to find out how do I connect with Dusty? Where can I, follow her? What's she got going on? But do you want to tell us about what at least some of the things you've got going on for 2023?
Oh, of course. So I am super excited because I'm really leaning into awakening the beautiful outlaw, um, helping women embrace who they are. So what that's going to look like is it's going to be like a 9-week program,
Nice.
and so that we can do some of the work and work on some of that yourself. And then we'll have a women's retreat at the end of it. So it's the same
Ooh.
group of women that you bonded with
Mhm.
and you've created relationships with, and you have formed safety, because safety for me and healing is important.
Yep.
And then you'll spend, depending on your choice, and depending on what we do, I'm still not sure, but like 3 to 5 days with me in person, and be horses healing hearts retreats, and they go together, they're hand in hand together. But my horses are a huge part of how I healed, and my horses all have trauma themselves, so it's pretty fun. You get to spend time working on you and also working with horses, and it kind of bring the program together. And then at the very end, the part that I'm like probably the most thrilled about is I'll be bringing in hair and makeup people and photographers, because I want the women to feel beautiful and do a photo shoot and just like really embrace like who they are, like this goddess that they don't realize they are, and just leave note with not only tools, but so they have a picture, and a picture with the horse they worked with as well together.
Yeah.
So they remember like who they were in that moment. Like
Yeah.
how do they feel in that moment? Because it's consistency, right? And sometimes it's gotta be a picture where you're like, man, I remember that. I remember what I was feeling in that moment. It's
Yeah.
time to bring that into my life, my everyday life, which is a
Absolutely.
process, but I'm excited about that probably the most.
That visual will be so powerful because sometimes we go through a really great experience and then, we try to recall it. But when they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, like you can see a picture and go right back into that moment. And for such a powerful, I feel like that adds to the embodiment. You've used that word a lot, embodying that, like a new identity, you know? Um, and so that just feels like an amazing way to just wrap it all together. So do you have so any advice or any invitations to people to consider as they're stepping into 2023 to allow themselves to thrive more?
Honestly, the first thing that came to my mind was rock your own boat. And
Ooh,
I did a rock your boat challenge, a 7-day challenge last year, the beginning of the year actually. And it was so fun because that could be anything, right? It depends where you're at. And rocking your boat is different for each of us, and it's different for where you're at in your healing process. That literally could just be brushing your teeth. So say you're right-handed. You brush your teeth in the morning with your left hand. And that's helping rewire your brain.
yeah.
Now, say you're a little bit further along on your journey, or you're feeling a little braver that day. So you would go and maybe you try a new food. You go experience a new food. Maybe you listen to that inner voice and you just call somebody who's on your mind.
Yeah.
It's just little things like that that starts that foundation. And when you can start to just allow yourself to take some of the limits off you. And rocking your boat does not have to be this scary thing.
Yeah.
And maybe you're further along on your journey and you really want to rock your boat. That is, I went on a trip and all I did that whole trip, I was not allowed to eat or drink anything that I normally would order. I mean, anything. It can even be from, I'm not even getting an unsweet tea kind of thing. Like, what else would what else would I want to experience?
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because we are so conditioned to pull ourselves back. We're so conditioned to hold back a little bit. So that little bit of difference helps you tap a little bit more into you. And then that helps you thrive. And it doesn't have to be crazy steps because we're all in a different spot, right?
Yeah.
So rock your boat and allow yourself to have a little more fun, a little more joy. And that's the foundation to stepping into you.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I love that
Thank
advice.
you.
Rock your own boat. Absolutely. What a great way to end this interview. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing what you've got, what you continue to do. And also, it's going to be really fun, I think, to hear from our audience about how they're going to rock their own boat.
I can't wait. Thank you, first off, for allowing me to be here and just share my passion. And I love what you're doing because I think thriving means different to everybody. And allowing yourself to realize that even a word like thrive can have so many different meanings and look so many different ways. And maybe the core is the same. So if a word can have that much difference, why can't we?
Mm, you're so powerful, Dusty.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Cheers to you in 2023, my friend.
Thank you. You too.